So, stupid Tory government almost becomes, at this point, a catchphrase of this channel. But with what they have literally just done, defies all logic and reason. So, of course, for those of you who have been in the know, we've just come out of a very heated sausage war. And let me give you the Cliff Notes version of this. We signed the withdrawal agreement, essentially putting the Northern Ireland Protocol into effect, meaning that we have to eventually get checks on the border going in. These checks, like the ones at the UK border between the UK and the EU, are eventually going to be phased in. These are being phased in so that businesses can have time to adapt and adjust, as well as the UK government bringing in processes to help adjust to that transition. What has happened is that the very first hurdle, the very first number of checks, that being of cold meat transfer between that of of the UK to Northern Ireland, wasn't ready, to a point where basic cold meats would not be transferred. And remember, if this is not ready for the Northern Ireland Protocol, that also means that our cold meat transfers from the UK to the EU are also not ready. So, as I keep on saying, October is going to be interesting. So at the moment, this ramped up continuously, and so again and again. And it was not the EU doing this, it was the UK consistently putting pressure on, blaming the EU. This is their fault, but when it was the British government that agreed to and created this very system that they are so complaining about. So, in an essential act of complete mercy, the EU went, okay, you are saying, because the UK government were saying that there are solutions to this problem and that they just need more time to implement it. So the EU's gone, okay, let's cool things off. We'll give you a 3-month extension. This takes it through again to October. At the moment, the UK government has no plan. No plans, has announced no solutions to these problems that they themselves have created. And now, with their new statement, giving essentially the EU 2 weeks. Yes, they are delivering an ultimatum to the EU of 2 weeks to essentially change the Northern Ireland deal, or, quote, a new approach will follow. Words fail. Words really do fail. But before we do jump into this nonsense, please do remember to hit that like, share and subscribe button. And also down below there are links to my Patreon page, as well as a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me a coffee. And also the YouTube memberships are open as well. So let's jump straight into this then. This comes from The Independent. And the title is Brexit. UK gives EU 2 weeks to change the Northern Ireland deal, or new approach will follow. So the UK has given... Oh, there we go. So the UK... pesky advert. There we go. So the UK has given the EU a new deadline of 2 weeks to agree to axe trade checks introduced by the Brexit deal for Northern Ireland, or risk unilateral action by London. So essentially, they want to start a trade war, which is not going to end well. A, quote, fresh approach will be set out this month if the talks fail to agree a breakthrough, ministers said, warning that the truce over chilled meats and medicines had failed to solve the crisis caused by the protocol. For the first time, a, quote, trade diversion, a surge of north-south goods sales from the Republic of Ireland because of the trade border created in the Irish Sea, was described as one of the problems. Brandon Lewis, the Northern Ireland Secretary, accused Brussels of intransigence in the ongoing talks and a lack of understanding of the sensitivities in the province. And David Frost, the Brexit minister, revealed the, quote, new approach will be announced before MPs leave Westminster for their summer recess on the 22nd of July. We think that it is essential for setting out how we will proceed for the rest of the year, he told an event hosted by Policy Exchange think tank. But He was also accused of profound dishonesty in denying that signing the protocol to force through a hard Brexit in 2019 would create the deep problems that he is mentioning. He replied to saying that it's a bit more complicated than that. No, really, it's no more complicated. You signed it. You signed up to it. These were the problems that everyone was pointing out. You signed that deal. Boris Johnson has also repeatedly threatened to invoke Article 16 to suspend flashpoint parts of the protocol if the EU does not give way, but has refused to scrap it altogether. The new threat will fuel EU fears that the UK is determined to dismantle the legal agreement that has simply, quote, banked the concessions it has made before demanding more. Last week, Brussels agreed to the UK's request for a 3-month delay to the chilled meats ban, as well as easier rules on moving medicines to guide dogs to Northern Ireland for the UK drivers. It also insists that a longer grace period must be used to arrange for retailers to obtain meats from the Republic of Ireland as agreed in the protocol. But Mr. Lewis insisted that a permanent solution to allow sausages to continue to be sold across the Irish Sea must be found by the autumn. The EU is urging the UK to agree to a Swiss-style veterinary agreement which might avoid the ban. But Lord Frost dismissed the proposal as a complete non-starter. The minister denied that he was setting a new deadline, but said all options will remain on the table for us. So we are currently considering our next steps, and we are discussing with all those with an interest. And I say today that we will set out a new approach to Parliament in a considerable way on these questions before the summer recess. And the EU has accused the UK of failing to abide by the protocol by imposing checks on Northern Irish ports and by supplying data on cross-channel trade. But Lord Frost insists that the EU's strict implementation was the root of the problem. Again, this is, where were we just 7 months ago at this point? You were saying how good this deal was, that this was going to be the solution to all these problems. And now here we are, this very thing that you said was this wonderful solution is now causing all these problems. And it is predominantly caused by the UK not following the rules that it agreed to sign up to. This is like playing Monopoly with someone. But every time they're constantly wanting to change the rules or play by, a different rule set. And you're like, well, no, I thought we were playing this version of Monopoly. And they're like, oh, no, we're playing this rule set now. And it's like, but we signed an agreement to play Monopoly. You're the one not wanting to play this version of Monopoly. What on earth are you doing? And now this is just inflaming tensions even more. I don't know whether this is being done to look tough. I don't know whether that is generally the case. I don't know whether this is just a big piece of kabuki theatre, whether eventually the UK is going to go, oh yeah, that's fine, we'll do that. And like I say, it was the UK that asked for an extension of 3 months, and the EU went, okay, here's that 3-month extension. I am really worried going into 2020 next year, but I have a bit of hope that hopefully that the end of this year will be the end of this antagonistic approach, because again, I think Boris and Frost are trying to play to the anti-EU crowd, saying, ooh, look how tough we are. Then next year, they can go back to the EU and start doing some proper negotiations while saying, oh, look how tough and hard we were. Again, this could be just all smoke and mirrors. I hope at the end of the day that is, but this damage that they are doing to the British diplomacy between UK and EU relations is damaging. And it is not a good way to progress into further and future negotiations, because how then are the EU going to react to us then? So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page, as well as a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, buy me a coffee. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.